Greetings and salutations, as ever. This is Imperator Vespasian and his ever-trusty sidekick.
Hello.
We're having a look at Gallic warriors from Victrix. We have already done an unboxing of the fanatics.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why they're called fanatics. They're fanatical figures. I would say they were gastati, which is young men who were kicked out of the tribe at the and had to live in the woods until there was a battle, and then they'd fight for one side or the other, and if they won, then they would be accepted into the other tribe.
Oh, God.
Because the Celts were horrible. But you could also use them as fanatics, I guess. I'm not really sure what they mean by fanatics, because most Celts were fanatics. They were fundamentalists. And but anyway, that's besides. Not most Celts. They're Britons. I am insulting the Gauls here. I don't wish to insult the Gauls. I'm talking about Britons. So yeah, that's the command sprue, which I'll we'll. Have we done what? We've done the command sprue already on
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we've already So we've already covered the command sprue. We'll just cover the figures. These are the figures.
Oh, they get cloaks.
Yes, you get a selection of cloaks. We tend to use sort of one cloak per 6. To keep, so we have enough spare cloaks to put on Spartans and Roman cavalry.
Because like the ones that are supposed to have cloaks never get
cloaks. Yes, every Spartan had a cloak. There's no cloaks in the Spartan box at all, right? So we need spare cloaks. So we use cloaks lightly, don't we?
Yeah.
So
the Teutons don't need them. No.
Unless they're knights, in which case they do.
That's unfortunate for us.
So these are the guys here. They're pretty okay. They're basically the same as the undressed Celts, but they've got trousers on. You've also got some wearing actual clothing. You have a large collection of javelins, long javelins, and a collection of spears. In Britain, javelin men were famous among the Romans, because what the Britons would do, they would sneak up to the Romans, throw a few javelins and run away. And this is just on a Thursday. You know, it's just what the Britons did. They were annoying, and it was very annoying. And the Romans didn't like the English javelins, because it's the British javelins, because the javelins would be very accurate. Not really much mention of how good our javelins were in Gaul, which makes me assume the Gallic javelins weren't very good.
Maybe it's because they didn't pay enough. To Britons.
Possibly, yes. Yeah, we're not going to mention the amount of Britons who managed to find their way into Gallic armies during the revolt, plus all the weapons had "Made in England" stamped on it. Yes. Britain basically funded the Gallic revolt by Vercingetorix. I won't be surprised if some of Vercingetorix's immediate supporters and backers and financiers may have had a dodgy accent, pretending to be French or what Gallic. Yeah. Anyway, that's the figures. Let's have a look at the actual figures assembled. So these are the guys. They're pretty cool. This is a guy throwing a long javelin as opposed to the short javelin. He's a swordsman, but he does have a couple of spare javelins with him, so this guy's going to do some damage. He's not painted as a Gaul because he's got blue, because he's painted as a Briton.
You can do whatever you want with them, right?
You can do anything you want.
Except for the shields they've given them.
Yeah. This is another Briton. Again, so he's got the blue on him. Blue woad. Interestingly, I'll just tell you a story about blue woad. Here's a guy who's completely blue.
Do they just find blueberries and then jump on top of them?
No! Woad grows in Britain. It's one of Britain's main plants. It's a shrub. No, it's not a shrub, it's a weed. And woad is where you get blue dye from. And it's a very blue. It's a very good blue.
Blueberries?
Like blueberries. No, blueberries run. You can't use them to dye things because they run and they go brown. So blue woad was very, very good. And huge amounts of woad were sold by the Celts to the Gauls and then to the Romans, and then when the Romans overran Gaul, they then bought it directly from England and eventually occupied England so they could grow it themselves. And woad was so popular, England made so much money out of woad that by Queen Elizabeth's time, half of all crops in England were woad. So you imagine wheat fields covered in wheat. No, woad. Only enough food to eat. not enough food to sell. This kind of upset the Romans at the time because Britain was great farmland.
Yeah.
And under Roman rule, woad was cut back, and literally they actually cut it back, and they created huge amounts of food, wheat.
Maybe they should just go to America and farm there.
Can you grow woad in America? I suppose the northern climate would be okay for it.
Don't they have like every different kind of climate in America?
Yes, yes.
But you just have to get there in time.
Yeah, you've got to. America pretty much covers the whole climate, right up to snow,
Yep.
and then down to boiling hot desert.
Literally.
Yeah, it's like a world in its own little tiny country. It's like one little world country. So anyway, the Romans ended up making Britain the second breadbasket of the Roman Empire. The main breadbasket being Egypt, which is where most of the world's bread came from, and the Romans were able to make Britain a separate one, and that meant that you could no longer seize power using one what did Vespasian do? The first thing he did was march on Egypt, secure Egypt. Funnily enough, Egypt was ruled by one of Vespasian's friends, so that was handy. They didn't fight. And Vespasian was able to strangle Rome, cut food supplies, and only supply his own troops. Therefore, he won. And he didn't want that to happen again. So Britain was made the second breadbasket. So there was two huge amounts of food coming in both ends of the empire.
Yeah, and both in different areas,
Yes.
way different areas. You can't take both at the same time.
Yes. So it protected Rome, and it theoretically prevented rebellions, because there was a rebellion that could threaten Rome would no longer be possible. Because if you took Egypt, say the Parthians took Egypt, it would make no difference because they would have England. And if the barbarians took England or cut Gaul off, it didn't matter because the Romans were able to supply food. So anyway, woad, carrying on, up to Elizabethan times, half of all plants were woad, and Queen Elizabeth banned woad for 2 years until there was a farmer revolt, and then she had to unban woad to avoid a civil war. But because she realised that if there was a bad harvest, people would starve, and there would be riots and civil war, and she might be overthrown.
Oh yeah.
So she decided to sort of limit the production of woad, which made woad more expensive, which meant farmers could sell it for more money, and it was it's one of them things. Anyway, so this is one of these guys, and he's painted up again in blue and white, blue, and you mix white with the blue. That's how you get the two-tone thing. So I mix a bit of white and a bit of electric blue to get the right tone for woad. So it's blue and electric blue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So anyway, woad, and have given him a sling, because the Britons had a lot of slings. The Celts themselves had a lot of slings, and I just thought I'd make a few slings. So that's a sling. That's another sling, and he's got another sling there. Where are the slings from? I think they're from the Irish box.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And here we have a bowman made with the bow from the Persians. That Persian bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another blue man. And
Another Persian bow.
Another Persian bow, but he is not blue, this guy, because he decided he didn't want to paint himself blue, because, he didn't have to. Heavy troops didn't tend to, the guys in armour, they wouldn't tend to paint themselves blue. It tended to be the peasants that went in for the blue.
It's just getting noticed, isn't it? Because if it is true that whoever won got accepted into the tribe, they want everyone to see them in their full glory.
Well, yeah, but these guys wouldn't be Gastati. They would be regular Celts, these guys. But there's several reasons. Some people reckon that the blue, because woad is it stops infections. So if you get cut in battle, it would stop you getting infected. But also, isn't Julius Caesar right about they'd cover themselves in oil as well as woad?
Oh, I don't know.
Which would make it hard to grab them in battle because your hand would slide off them. So maybe that's part to do with it. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But certainly it may have been a status symbol.
Could be.
You could afford the woad, basically, and so you painted yourself with it. I'm not one that particularly believes in the whole tattoo thing.
Oh yeah. Well, clearly Victrix doesn't either with that.
Clearly Victrix doesn't. Certainly the Gauls didn't go in for tattoos much, and the descriptions. In fact, the Romans called the British the Prytani, and Prytani means painted.
Right.
Which means you've painted yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean tattooed.
Tattooed yourself.
I don't buy the tattoo thing. I don't see, because it would have stayed in our culture if we did. If we were at the point where all Celts were covered head to toe in tattoos, that would not have left English culture.
No.
We still have the maypole, right? We still have bonfire night, which can go right back. It used to be burning Guy Fawkes, and then it was before that it was the Pope you burnt, and before that it was.
And we'd have evidence of it.
Yes, and before that there would be a foreign person who you put in a wicker band and set fire to. It's the same thing. It goes back over time. It stays in your culture. The Easter Bunny is the spring hare. In spring you would release her hare, and the hare would run across the field, and it would tell the druid, the mad, insane druid would look at the hare running and say, because it went left and then had a poo, that means that there's going to be a good harvest this year, or we should go to war with the Romans, whatever. It means whatever you want it to mean, and I'll tell you the foundation of the maypole, because we on YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized. But the maypole was absolutely horrific, and the fact that we get children to dance around a maypole in May is absolutely disgusting if you really knew what it was about. But the Celts are horrible. The Romans came here, realised the Celts were horrible, and beat it out of us. But slaughtered it out of us, and taught us to live in houses and use a toilet. And
we disagree with that, and got rid of us entirely, and now we're no longer them.
Yeah. So, but a lot of Celtic stuff lived on. It's amazing. It's strange that German stuff did too. We at Christmas we have a Christmas tree in the house. That's the German religion. The Germanic tribes.
It's like because Rome took over all these different areas, and so it kind of, to keep peace, ends up accidentally getting all these different kinds of religions and stuff everyone has, and just moulding them all into one big thing. Yeah.
Sort of, you've got a Celtic god. Well, that can be one of our gods too.
Yeah. You worship the Easter Bunny. So we're going to put that in with this book. Oh, and that one. Oh, you put Christmas trees in your house. So that's like Christmas Day. Okay, yeah, that, and then that just ends up being something bigger than what it is.
Yeah. Although partly you can blame the Christmas tree to Queen Victoria's husband, because he was German, of course. So he dragged a tree into the house, which the English thought was rather strange. But people did do it, in certain areas of England they did actually have the tree, and up in the north they'd have holly. They'd put a holly bush in the tree in the front room, or whatever passed for a front room then before televisions, and these things have carried on. So the Germans used to hang bodies from trees. Now we have a Christmas tree. It's the same thing. It's just we hang baubles from trees. We used to hang severed heads from trees. The Germans would hang severed heads. Instead, we have these nice shiny balls we hang from the tree. We put a pretty star on top as well. Yeah. Isn't it nice? And the star, of course, is the star of Saturn, isn't it? It's literally Saturn, like the star. That's why you have a star on the tree. And the Christians adopted that, of course, as part of their foundation myths, and it's all interesting. It's all really fascinating and interesting stuff.
Everything gets copied by everyone in the end of it.
Yes, and then it gets mutated over time, and you forget why you do it.
Yeah. But it just becomes a tradition.
Yeah, and then it's interesting. And anyway, that's the unboxing. And have we actually gone off on one? We did
the whole thing.
Were we on topic?
We did the whole topic, and then we went off topic.
Yeah. But we're not really off topic. This is the Celts. Yeah. Celts are interesting. Although, these are Gauls. Technically, they can be Celts. Although you could do Picts with them, because the Picts were actually the same people, believe it or not. In fact, Gallic comes from Old English, it's not a separate language. Its root language is Old English.
So, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of the Gallic warriors.
Yep, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Oh, and if you're still here, thank you. Just scroll down to the bottom and you'll see a link to our new website.
Oh yeah, that too.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See ya.